We're getting connected now. Good morning to everyone and welcome. Thank you for being patient with us this morning. We are so excited to have so many of you with us for this morning and this virtual presentation from Lakeview Village. Obviously, you're contemplating a move to senior housing, and that's a very exciting thing. So just thought we'd let you know who is going to be visiting with you today. My name is Melissa Smith, and I will be your facilitator for this event. This event is called Our Senior Living Communities, a Smart Financial Move. And before our speakers, who you see here on the screen, will introduce themselves, if for any reason that we should lose the live stream and it stops on your screen, just hang tight. It will come right back. We don't anticipate any problems, but if by chance that happens, just hang in there and it should come right back up, okay? We have three great experts who are with us today, and we're going to do a brief introduction, kind of a round robin, if you will. Actually, I'm going to go across the way to Emerson Hartzler. Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. I am a financial planner by trade and a resident of Lakeview Village. So I'm here to try to answer the question that many people have is, how do I know that I can afford to move to Lakeview?
Excellent. And then Colette Poncho. Colette, what's your role today?
You know, Melissa, for the past 20 years, I have had the pleasure of helping older adults and their families make a positive transition to communal living, a place that they can thrive with their peers and provide their families peace of mind.
Awesome. So we're going to hear more about Lakeview Village from you. And then Jim Blaufus, tell us a little bit about you, mister.
Okay, well, I've been selling houses, homes for over 40 years. And so today I'm going to share with everyone what's going on in the market. And it's really good news for home sellers, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
That is excellent for sure. Okay, I am going to transition us over to our presentations now that everybody has had an opportunity to see your wonderful faces, and they can put a face with the voice as we go through our presentation today, which is Our Senior Living Communities, a Smart Financial Move. If by chance you're not hearing us very well, this is your opportunity to turn up the volume, right? So that you can hear the presentation. Once again, here are the names of our presenters, and we'll make sure you have that too before the event is all over. Okay, now moving into our first presentation. I am having a hard time making my slide move. Technical difficulties calls for the technical director. It's called just getting your fingers in the right place. Excellent. Okay, we're going to start with just sharing with you exactly what we're going to cover today. So we're going to get a clear understanding of the financial decisions to consider with a move to senior living. Colette's going to compare 5 types of senior housing and distinct benefits of Lakeview Village. And Jim's going to come up with a great analysis of the current real estate market. Like he says, you're going to like what he has to say. All right, so Emerson, you are up and ready to go.
Thank you, Melissa. By way of introduction, I have an MBA degree in finance and for 44 years worked in corporate America in the financial area. And then 13 years ago, I retired and started a pro bono financial planning practice. Now, pro bono means that I don't charge my clients anything. I may not be the best financial planner in the world, but you certainly cannot beat my rates. And incidentally, I worked for a number of years as a management consultant, charging an hourly rate. My friends from that industry called me when they found out I was doing pro bono work and said they were glad I finally found a rate that matched my skill set. But I've ignored them and continued to work for the past 13 years. I've been at Lakeview as a resident for 7.5 years. And in a former life, I was on the board of Lakeview Village, had a number of terms totaling 12 years. So I'm familiar with the industry, and hopefully I can help a little bit today. As a background, Lakeview Village is a significant financial commitment, no question about that. And most prospective residents have the same question. Now, how do I know if I can afford Lakeview Village? So let's unpack that a little bit. Home mortgages in the U.S. became popular in the 1930s, and many people then were able to afford to buy a home, which was a great deal. And then by 1960 or so, many retirees found themselves with a mortgage-free home. So the continuing care retirement community industry, of which Lakeview Village is a part, really started about that same time in the late 1959, 1960. So the problem, of course, a great idea, great concept, but the problem was they're pretty expensive to build. And so the industry leaders had a problem of, well, how do we finance this sort of thing? And they said, well, guys, if we could get these homeowners to see the wisdom of basically trading their home equity for an entrance fee, that would provide some of the capital needed to build the facility. So that's kind of how things developed around the idea that residents could finance the entrance fee to Lakeview Village using the sale of their home. That idea worked back in the early 60s, and the whole industry was born and went throughout the country. Now, unlike other investments, a paid-for house is a great thing, but it doesn't really create income. In fact, a good financial planner would probably tell you that a home is not really an investment, it's a lifestyle choice. You're always going to need a place to live. So even when you sell, you have to buy something else. And Marge and I, my wife and I have owned 4 homes, and surprise, surprise, each one cost more than the prior one. So you continue to move up. The point is that the trade of your home equity for a life care entrance fee may not have a measurable financial impact now in your lifetime. You're just trading what you now have, a non-earning asset, to another non-earning asset, but you get a tremendous bonus because in doing so, you protect the balance of your estate from the potentially devastating cost of long-term care, which is a very real risk that all seniors face, and it's very hard to insure that risk outside of a Lakeview Village type arrangement. According to AARP, 70% of Americans will require long-term care at some point after age 65, 70%. And even a good long-term care policy won't cover all the potential expenses of an extended stay. So if you have a long-term care policy, you may want to keep it when you come to Lakeview Village, but it's not going to cover all the expenses. The life care contract is a real bonus because it covers everything you would need in all levels of care up through skilled nursing for as long as you need them. So that's the deal on the entrance fee. It normally is a trade for the equity of your home, which is non-earning, to the asset of a lifetime at Lakeview. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't cover taxes. And you say, oh my, we're getting into the weeds now. And as a financial advisor, I would never recommend making a decision moving into Lakeview or anything else based primarily upon the tax implications. I only did that once, and I live to regret it. It's a long story. It's not pretty. We don't have time to cover it. However, you really do need to know about this tax savings because it can factor a bit into your affordability, and you certainly do not want to miss it. So let me give you an example. If you got pencil and paper available, you might write down some numbers. These are pretty, we use round numbers just to make the math easy. But let's say you move into Lakeview and you pay an entrance fee of $200,000. And then your unit has a monthly service fee of $4,000. And assume you move in today. Well, in 2020, you would pay total fees to Lakeview of about $224,000. So what's the tax savings? Well, in the first year, you have to understand that the portion of expenses that Lakeview Village has to provide all these services, a portion of that goes to healthcare. Thus, the same portion of the fees you pay qualifies as a prepaid medical expense. You move in, you're living in independent living, but all the expenses are wrapped into all the fees. And so the fees you pay have that similar percentage. The percentage of Lakeview Village expenses that are dedicated to healthcare services has typically been just north of 45%. Last year, it was 45.88%. So if you use 45%, 224,000, you'll find that the tax deduction in year one would be a shade over $100,000. Now, you give that to your tax advisor and watch his or her reaction. I mean, you will get one. A $100,000 tax reduction in 1 year, for most people, that's a tax burial. The catch is you have to take the entire deduction in that first year, the year that you pay the entrance fee and the monthly fees. To take full advantage of that deduction will take some tax planning, and that must be done before the end of the year. After the first of the year, it is what it is. You can't carry that deduction forward. So please, please, please get some planning advice from a tax advisor who understands the unique CCRC deduction the Lakeview Village offers. And you do that before the end of the year. I used a simple transfer of funds from my regular IRA to my Roth IRA, created some extra income, and then I could take full advantage of the deduction. There are many other planning tools that could be used that are would be specific to you, but just get some good planning advice before the end of the year. And now the example I've given applies to the standard life care contract. You know, the refundable contracts may offer less tax savings in the first year. Now, in future years, you also get a tax deduction when the monthly fee applies. And using the same example, the annual deduction would be almost $22,000, which at a marginal tax rate of, say, 25% would be $5,400. That is real money, cash in your pocket. You don't want to miss that. So that's the entry fee, the tax implications. Now let's talk about the monthly fee. How do I know that I can afford that? Well, this is a little bit more work, but it can be done. And the first thing you need to do to understand your financial picture after you move to Lakeview Village, you have to first understand your current income and expenses. I've been in business for 13 years as a financial planner, and very, very few people come to me who really do understand where their money's going. It is very difficult to do it. About 7 or 8 years ago, I discovered a planning software which I would recommend you use. It's called mint.com. It's free to the user. It's web-based, and it's supported by Intuit, the people who bring you TurboTax and QuickBooks. And it usually takes about 3 months of data to understand your current cash flow. When you first set up a mint.com account, it goes back a couple of months. So it doesn't take very long to get data that will understand where you are today. And just one point, in looking at your income, many people, when they look at Lakeview and look at the monthly service fee, they say, well, okay, I've got income. I'm at Social Security, maybe I have a small pension and so forth. And boy, I can't afford this monthly fee. Well, in calculating your income, don't forget the return on investments. And most people think of income as paychecks and things like that. But if you've got significant investments, you should be getting a return on that. And don't forget to include that in your income so that is all balanced out. So next slide. So once you know your current expenses, then especially if you have some detail, you can compare them to the expenses that you will have at Lakeview Village. And you would be amazed at how much expense is covered by that monthly service fee. Utilities go away. House repair and maintenance goes away. A grocery cost, actually, in our case, most of our grocery costs are eliminated. I don't spend as much money on transportation and cars because there's so many things happening in Lakeview. I don't leave all that much. But there are a lot of changes. Your budget will look very, very different. But if you have a line item arrangement, you know what you're spending now. You can look at those things and see, well, here, this is going to go away, that's going to be less, and so forth. And you can come up with a pretty good plan. And then the nice thing about it is your future expenses will be predictable over the long term. Lakeview Village is a financial planner's dream because they can really nail down what's going to happen in the future. So basically, here's the bottom line. First of all, the entry fee, you can leverage the value of your home to help that. Secondly, there's some significant tax benefits, especially in the first year, but ongoing. And then you can calculate the affordability of the monthly fee. As a rule of thumb, the monthly service fee at Lakeview usually covers about 60% of your current monthly expenses. So if your income is sufficient to pay the fee, still have 40% left, remaining expenses, then Lakeview is probably a smart financial move. I don't like rules of thumb. I'd rather go through the more detailed analysis that we suggest. But one way or another, you can be able to make a pretty good estimate of what you're going to what your finances are going to look like after you move in. So that's it. Hope that helps.
That was terrific, Emerson. And of course, if anybody has a question for Emerson, just type that question in, and Emerson is going to stick around. He'll be with us at the end of the presentation to answer any financial questions that you might have. So next up, we have the Director of Sales and Marketing at Lakeview Village, Colette Poncho. Good morning, Colette.
Good morning, Melissa. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So, can you hear me okay?
We can. You
All
sound,
right.
you're coming in loud and clear.
All right. Well, I just wanted to let you know that I have been working with seniors about 20 years. 10 of those have been at Lakeview Village. And I also have my master's in social gerontology. But, just knowing about aging doesn't mean I've stopped aging, darn it. So let's talk about some of the challenges and rewards of aging. This slide that you see here is a survey done by Merrill Lynch several years ago, but I think it still holds true for what people are concerned about in the aging process. And I just want to give you a moment to see if any of these issues resonate with you. So let's go on now to some of when one of those concerns, or more than one, comes to the forefront. Older adults often look for a solution, which may include a new place to live. So here we've listed some of the top 4 options that I've seen over the years, some admittedly more common than others. I don't know many who have moved to another country, but you could technically. Some folks say they want to stay in their own homes, and that's certainly an option. Living in a senior community is a great option that we're going to discuss today. And then the last one, move in with the kids. That always gets a laugh, but you're virtual, so I can't hear you. Okay. All right. So the types of housing generally by category would be these 4. So independent living only. This could be a freestanding home or an apartment for people 55 and over. These kinds of active senior communities, they're called, are more common on the coasts and in the South. We don't have many that are, resort style communities here. In the center of your screen, you'll see independent living with some care services available. Most of the time, these are apartments. And then you have independent living with full care services. And that's where Lakeview Village falls. So those could be apartments, garden cottages, homes, and there is a full spectrum of care included. Now, on the far right of your screen are care services only. These are options that you have become very familiar with, probably with friends who may have used these services over the years. And sometimes people will go directly from their home into an assisted living, memory care, or skilled nursing center. And that is another option. But I will tell you, when I've seen families do that, it tends to be more of an emergency situation than a planned situation. So here is the formal definition of what is a continuing care retirement community. So these communities are plentiful in the Kansas City metropolitan area, but there are important differences among them, which we will review. And so this definition of a life plan community is aptly named, I think, because it provides a positive plan for one's life going forward. So here are the different types of residential contracts that you will see when you are shopping around Kansas City or elsewhere. So luckily, these 5 major types of communities or contract types are known by letters also, A through E. So we're going to use those names as well as some of their other names that you may have heard. And I will tell you that some of them, as I mentioned, are more readily available in the Midwest than others. So before I get into the ABCs of this, I wanted to talk about the role of long-term care insurance. And many people ask me, well, if I have long-term care insurance, how does that influence the type of community that I choose? So my first thing I would tell you as a smart consumer is be sure to ask how a community applies the benefits of a long-term care policy. So we do have residents here at Lakeview who have long-term care insurance, and they're basically, when they receive care from us, so when they receive care from us, their policy offsets the monthly fee they're already paying. That's essentially how those benefits are applied. So in Emerson's example, if they're paying $2,000 a month and they go to care, they can apply for their benefits from their long-term care insurance company, and it will be applied to the monthly fee they're already paying here. So I think the difference is that that long-term care policy could also cover the extra 2 meals a day that we are charging you for from independent living to care, and then an upgraded room in our assisted living or skilled nursing could be covered by your long-term care insurance. So let me say, in closing on that slide, that most policies are not unlimited, so they really combine well with our unlimited life care contract. And that's the slide you see now, which is type A. So let's take a minute to go over this because there are some significant differences between the 5 styles of community. So this is called True Life Care or a type A, and Lakeview offers a type A life care contract. And it's called True because it offers unlimited assisted living and long-term nursing care, as well as the residence of your choice when you come to Lakeview in exchange for that entrance fee and monthly service fee. So you really come in when you're independent, and then when that care is needed, it's already prepaid. So here's a fine point about our type A contract, that basically it's called a declining balance entrance fee. So that means that you are offered a prorated refund on this life care entrance fee up to 4 years, but none after. So that's important to know. It also affects the price of this contract. It is going to be the most affordable entry fee we offer because it may or may not be refunded to you later down the road. Now, I won't go into the tax deductions because Emerson has done an excellent job there, but I want you to refer to the visual here. So you see how those green bar charts are even across the top. That means that you're going to have a level rate of expenses over time, even if your healthcare changes. So the key here is that you will never pay the market rate for long-term care. All right, so if we go on to the next slide, you'll see that this is type B. So again, it's a life care contract, but it's a modified life care contract. Now, this plan is available in the metro area, but it requires the resident to pay progressively, as you see in the bar chart, for higher levels of care. So I would encourage you, if you're looking at a modified Type B life care community, the key is to ask, can my refundable entry fee plan be applied to my care when needed? That's an important question, and you don't want to be surprised with the answer when you receive care at that community, because some communities, folks, will allow you to use your refundable entrance fee for your care. Some won't. So you'd have to find another source to pay for that. So just be a smart consumer here and know that if you're going to a Type B community, there's a discounted rate on your care, but it's not unlimited like the Type A contract is. All right, so let's look at the next one, which is called fee for service. So the fee for service community is called a Type C. And basically, this type of contract does put the burden of paying for the care squarely on the resident. So I like to use the term you pay the fee when you need the service, hence the name fee for service. So this type of contract means simply that you will pay the market rate for your care, which will climb during your residency, as you can see on the chart. So be sure to ask again whether or not you can use your refundable entrance fee for your care. Some allow it, some communities do not. So here I would say that people who are willing to have a higher level of risk for that long-term care would possibly consider a fee-for-service type of community. All right, number D is a rental community, and this seems very straightforward, but I wanted to point out some differences between the ones we've covered. So a rental community, clearly there is no entrance fee, but there usually is a non-refundable deposit, often called a community fee. So the monthly service fee in independent living rentals is often higher compared to the entry fee contracts. So higher levels of care may not be available in rental communities, so a move could be required. And that's something you may want to, consider. Do you want to have to move somewhere after you've already settled in to a retirement community? All right, on equity, this is again not as common in Kansas City, where you would would buy a home. I know there was a community for a while in town. I don't know if they do that anymore. There are co-op communities in Kansas City where you're a part owner, for example, but it could be a good fit for someone who's not willing to pay for or not willing or able to prepay for long-term care in advance in the form of an entrance fee. But again, folks, consider that it's not a full-fledged plan if you are going this route. So let's go to the next slide, and this will show you visually what I've been talking about. So basically, this chart illustrates for us how each of the 5 senior housing categories serves a senior's long-term needs. So with the life plan model there in yellow at the bottom, that is the most comprehensive. So that is going to cover you if you don't need help, you need some, or if you need full-on care. It's all covered. The other communities we talked about, cascading on the slide, will do part of that for you, but not the whole thing. All right, here is another nice chart that shows the conceptual expenses that you could have with the various types of communities. So I'm going to draw your attention to the blue bar, which shows that consistent expense line for a life care community type A. Now the other types of contracts are going to involve variable expenses over time. So when you're shopping around, many communities will use that term continuing care retirement communities or life plan communities. And the key there is they can use that if they have medical services on campus. However, I think it's a more, it's a subtle, important difference lies in who pays for those medical services in a life plan community. Is it you, or is it the community itself? Okay, so residential contracts at Lakeview Village. Here we have a type A. This is what we do. This is our traditional plan. It's also called a declining balance refund, which I referred to earlier. So that means after 4 years, there is no refund coming to the estate, but you will still receive unlimited assisted living and or long-term care. So that is a great peace of mind for the family to have. Now, we also do offer a 75% refundable plan that has the life care too. And there's no limit on this refund. But the price of that refundable plan is, of course, more than the traditional plan. And finally, we have the 75% refundable plan without life care, which is more of a fee for service that we offer here at Lakeview. So if you have good long-term care insurance, you might want to consider this. But honestly, I've seen many people come through with kind of middling life insurance, middling long-term care policies that really could be better paired with a traditional plan. And I can take questions on these at the end. All right, so a little bit about Lakeview itself. We have been here a long time. We have a long history in the metro area, and we are a nonprofit organization, locally owned and operated since 1964. So we are home to about 700 residents, lots of housing options here, 2 small lakes, mature trees, and lots of walking paths. You can see some of our residents enjoying life here. And you know, it really does feel like a neighborhood that you've always loved living in. Now, because we are a non-profit, our revenues are reinvested to keep our campus up to date. And I would encourage you to ask any community you visit whether or not they are a nonprofit organization. Our board of directors and executive team do run a tight ship, as I've witnessed during my tenure here. So we are happy to provide you with any financial audits for your review, so you can feel, extremely confident in your investment into Lakeview Village, into the entrance fees. So more pictures here of the beautiful lake. That's 3 acres by North Point Apartments. We have a lovely community garden there. So our 100-acre campus is beautiful, especially this time of year. So when the stay-at-home orders are lifted, our residents will resume their varied schedule of activities. And we are close to a lot of amenities in Overland Park and Lenexa. And our buildings are nice and quiet. If you haven't lived in an apartment for decades, you will find them to be quiet because they're built out of concrete and steel. Now, in addition, folks, if you are not living on our campus yet, we do offer you highly rated care. So you can take advantage of those services, really the best in the area. And they are housed in our state-of-the-art community center here at Lakeview. Now, we wanted you to know we do offer a lot of different floor plans, dozens of them, whether they're cottages, apartment homes, or villas. And now this particular home you're seeing here is a Don Julian villa. And Don Julian has been our partner for more than a dozen years. And we are hoping to build 7 more villas very soon as they are spoken for. And you will see these villas actually featured in some upcoming TV ads. So of those 7 villas, we have those probably, or very likely, will be the final phase of villas for the foreseeable future. And we do hope that you will come learn more about our housing options, because we are open for tours. We do so safely, and we use screening techniques so that you are safe to come visit with us and see if we can accommodate you. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Colette, very, very much. It is a beautiful campus, and it is, particularly as you said, this time of year in the lake, and it's a very active place, and it is a lovely place to visit. If you haven't, would encourage you definitely to do so. So we get into now, well, before we get to Jim, just want to remind you, if you have a question, go ahead and submit that question and we will get to those certainly at the end of our presentation. Now it is time for our REMAX realtor, Jim Blaufus. Jim, the market is really, really busy right now, isn't it?
Yes, you can hear me okay?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
we
Well,
can. Yeah.
I love talking about real estate, and the market is definitely a seller's market, and I'll get into that in a little bit of why it is such a hot seller's market. Fortunately, when the quarantine came along, they considered real estate an essential business, so we got to stay open, and business just continues on. And we did make some adjustments for the showing of houses. Of course, vacant houses, very easy to show. And the way they set it up now is when homes are shown, they're done in 30-minute intervals. And just the realtor and the customer will be viewing the home. Generally do not allow children to go along with the showings. Excuse me. Uh, it's always good if the homeowner can be gone, but a lot of times that's not possible. So homeowner kind of just stays out of the way when you show the house. So that works out really well. And the market has stayed very strong. And here's my opinion of why. Interest rates are under 3%. I've lived through being in this business 40 years or more. I've seen rates as high as 18%. That was pretty ugly. So 30-year loans at 3% or less just makes these homes so affordable for people. Uh, this strong market is a result of a lack of homes for sale, especially under $400,000. Uh, they don't build small houses anymore under 400,000. People are staying in their homes longer. That creates a shortage. Homes under 400,000 are in the more affordable range for a lot of buyers, and therefore we're seeing these homes just fly off the shelf. This year, I've only had one home that did not sell for full price or above, and that's pretty typical. This market's been this way for 5 or 6 years, and it looks like it continues that way. Normally, I used to carry maybe 10, 15 listings at a time. And now I'm lucky to have one or two because they sell so fast. Now in Kansas, the real estate agent that lists your home and represents you as the seller is called the listing agent. In Kansas, the agent can only represent the seller when they list the home. They cannot represent a buyer. That is different in different states. It's even different in Missouri. It's a great law. I like it when the agent represents the seller only, because the agent is responsible for everything that goes on in the transaction. The promotion of a property is the listing agent's responsibility. In my case, I have my daughter, Julie. She's been with me 17 years. She promotes the home to the whole world through all the different websites that are available. And it so when you list your house, you better be ready to sell, of course, or to move. And it's good to know where you're going to go when you list the house, because I know it's going to get sold. I'm more than happy to visit with each of you over the phone if you like. You see my phone number there and my email address. Uh, I would love to come and visit with you and show you the whole process of the selling process. It's pretty simple process, the legal ends of it, which the listing agent, which I would take care of completely. And then also when you're not exactly ready to sell now, but you have questions about what do I do to get the house ready for sale, I love to make a visit to your home if you would invite me to do that. uh, Give you ideas. I usually don't have people spend a lot of money to get their house ready for sale. That's why you want to move, is you're done with all that. People are maybe it's because I've been in business a long time, but so many of my customers now are people that call me that want to sell. They've been in their homes maybe 40 or 50 years even, and now they want to get rid of the stairs. They feel that's unsafe for them, or they just tired of the maintenance. They don't want to handle that anymore. And I explain that to agents that are showing the house when there's always things that buyers are wanting in a home, but I explain to them that the sellers really are not going to do a whole lot more to get the house ready for a new buyer. It's obviously very presentable. All our listings are presentable. Let the buyer do their own decorating and sometimes their own improvements, because that's why you're ready to make the move to a place like Lakeview Village, who's going to handle all of that for you. It's very appealing. The real estate is always local. You hear things on the news about what's going on in real estate nationwide, and that can be valuable information. But what's going on in a different state may be totally different than our local market, and our local market is so very strong. It's actually very tough to be a buyer now in this market because we get multiple offers. Last year, I actually had in one day over 90 showings on a house and 33 contracts. So, I mean, in my 40 some years, that's the most I have ever run across. But it was interesting. And of course, I'd like to see everybody own a house someday. Um, the So a lot of agents or buyers are disappointed when they make an offer above full price and they still don't get the house. So as a listing agent, I used to be a CPA for a short while in my life, and I love being in real estate, but I am good at the details. So part of your responsibility as a listing agent representing the seller is to make sure that the buyer that is making an offer on the home can actually qualify for it and has the ability to close on it. Because once you go under contract, you have the promise to close, but it hasn't been closed. So we even work out situations where a closing can occur. You, as the seller, get your money and maybe even rent the house back for a short while you're making the move. And so that works out well for people. Um, Technology allows us to have you sign paperwork by computer without printing it off, or we can do it in person. I love doing it in person, but sometimes doing it electronic signatures work very well. Uh, the I handle everything myself. I'm not part of a big group where you have so-called transaction coordinators and all that, and you're talking to somebody different every time you want to get an answer. I'm always dealing with another agent, which is great. They're the ones that's going to represent the buyer, and I know the questions to ask. I know how to make sure people are qualified. Actually, in 40 some years, I've only had one or two buyers not qualify for a loan because we kind of weed that out before they sign a contract. And also, we do not do accept contracts that are contingent upon another house selling. And so, because when you're under contract, you got to start making your plans for moving so you can have the money available when you need it. Um, I think I've had the honor of selling a lot of houses to people who have moved to Lakeview Village, and they love it there. They love the lifestyle. That's what they're wanting, the new lifestyle. They enjoyed their home that they had for many years. They raised their family, and now they're enjoying the new lifestyle and also the wonderful people they get to meet at Lakeview Village. In fact, just recently, one of my customers just moved into one of the brand new Don Julian villas, and I actually got to see this house, and it is so beautiful. And it's anybody would be envious uh, to get to live like that.
They are
And so
definitely beautiful, Jim.
that's
Hey,
right.
Jim,
Yes,
Judy has a question for you,
sure,
okay? She
sure.
wants to know, do you need a real estate agent if your home is going to be bought and torn down for new construction? Do you need a real estate agent under those circumstances?
It That can depend. I actually offer that does happen once in a while. I even offer the service at a big discount to handle that transaction. If it's going directly and you've agreed on price and possession, you don't necessarily need a real estate agent. You need a title company that can help handle the paperwork. And actually, I do handle situations like that where people already have a buyer for the house. Maybe it's not going to be torn down. Maybe they're even selling it to somebody they know and they've agreed on price and possession. And for a small fee, I can help that just to make the process work well for everybody and end up the buyer being happy and the seller saving a lot of money at the same time. And also I do offer discounts for people who are moving to Lakeview Village too. So
Cool.
that's worked out very well. But that's a great question. And there's some questions I'd ask somebody if that was going to happen. The one sale that I had where the couple was going to sell the home for $195 because it needed rehabilitation totally, had the 99 showings. That was a year ago in May. 33 contracts. A rehab person paid $250,000 cash for the house that seller was ready to take $195 for. So I see those ads every day in the paper. I see it on TV. And sometimes I worry. There are times where a house definitely needs to just go straight to somebody that's professional. But when I saw that happen, and I see how some of these rehabbers do not pay a fair price, it kind of scared me when I saw that. It was $195, it's a true story. And I put it on the market at $209, and it went for $250. And all the top 4 bidders on that house were rehab people who were going to fix it up and sell it for more.
Interesting.
Yes. So
Roy has a question. I'm sorry. Were you finished with that question,
No, I
Jim?
think that's fine. I just want to let people know that I can come to their home and give them consultation.
Sure.
I do not charge, and there's no obligation to even list with me,
Sure.
but I can sure give them a lot of information.
That would be, and I bet you would even do it on the patio if they wanted to social distance.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Anyway,
very nice.
Like.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. Okay. Roy has a question. Can sellers see all the offered contracts before they make a decision?
Oh, absolutely. Again, that's the listing agent's responsibility to make sure the seller does see everything. You know, years ago when the market wasn't so strong, if somebody would call up and say, hey, I'll pay full price, we'd go ahead and usually put that deal together if the buyer is qualified. Today, we wait at least a day or two before we even present the offers, because full price, I mean, we've had houses sell for 30 and 40,000 over full price, and that's not uncommon. So it's always the seller's choice, and the realtor will advise the seller, hey, this may be the highest bidder, but here's some of the problems with this contract. So price is an issue. Closing dates are issues. You know, what else are they asking for? Do they have a house? Do they have to sell something or wait for a closing? So but no, the seller, they're in charge. And also it's just amazing. And the other thing that we're finding out with the market this strong, when buyers do the inspection, they're not as demanding as they used to be, because they don't want to lose their house that they've put under contract.
Sure. Okay, Jim, thank you so much for your presentation, for answering those questions. We are now going to go into the question and answer session. And Colette, there is a question for you. Lan asked this question. I am not sure I understand your comment about, and in quotes, they put valid for 4 years. Could you explain? Yeah, and I hope you understand what that means, because that was on a slide way back there. I don't remember.
I do.
Oh, good.
Hi, Lon. Yes, good to talk to you all virtually. So what that means is, on the traditional plan, the refund is prorated, so that after 4 years, there is no refund to the estate or the individual on the traditional Type A plan. But there is a prorated refund up to 4 years.
Okay, I hope that answered the question. Another question for you, Colette. The life care plan, is that something that's only offered at Lakeview Village?
There are only a handful of others in Kansas City, and there were 2 other communities that offered a life care plan like ours, but they recently changed over to something called an equalized rate. So it is a little more complex, and you need to ask a few more questions. So there are just the 3 communities that I would consider life care, true life care.
Gotcha. Well, I believe we've gotten to all the questions, but you know what? I know how this works, at least for me. I have to simmer on some of this information, and I'm sure you'll have others. And whatever questions you have, you will get those answered. Look in your email tomorrow for those of you attending this virtual event today, because we will be sending out an email with all kinds of information, resources that were brought up today in these presentations. And just to let you know that until the end of October, Lakeview Village is offering a promotion on selected apartments and their garden cottages. So that is definitely something to consider. Also, they have a special promotion on some of those villas that Colette was talking about going on as well. So those are important, I think, really good information for you to know as you are making some decisions about your potential move into a retirement community. Well, Emerson, Colette, Jim, thank you all so much for your presentations today. And again, to attendees, look for an email from Lakeview Village tomorrow, which will have some bonus material in there for you. And thank you for attending. And look for other virtual events from Lakeview Village coming up in the month of July. We hope you enjoy this beautiful day.